every time you're thinking, that thinking is wanting to eat. That thinking is, damn, let's start really fast. That thinking is inherently trying
Dude, I'm
to be the best
literally, you
food
can hear the
possible.
crickets in the background.
And
That's because I'm up on the hill. That's because it's like 9 or 10 p.m. and like I'm just now um coming down off of the fucking sub one. Jesus Christ.
um and so
Oh,
what that
2:25
means
a.m. That's what time it is.
is when you think about things from this perspective, then you understand that immediately you go meta enough to realize that you thinking about that thought, even you thinking about um whatever the fuck it's called, even you thinking about that is consuming, right? Like it is reaching for the divine taste. Um, so basically, what you understand whenever you realize this is every thought is multidimensional, right? Every thought is reaching for God, or in other words, every thought inspires divine truth. Like, I don't know how to explain that relationship. Hold on, let me think about that.
I remember this thread being really schizo. I remember I could never properly articulate what I was trying to say.
It basically is like an underlying truth in which interdimensional can also exist. So, in other words, like, oh, I should rectangle square. So let me explain how much more powerful an ego state is than interdimensional. Not only is it one single thought that instantly is interdimensional, instantly goes interdimensional, right? Not only is it a story which can provide a thought texture instantly that forces you into it. The old stories were just, they could produce a thought texture which you could then utilize. This one forces an instant realization which consumes itself. So it's already significantly better in that capacity. Because as soon as you realize that an ego is a taste, you understand that that thought is your ego reaching for the divine taste and that you should be tasting it in that moment. You should be eating yourself, eating for the divine taste. That is a way to make yourself taste better for God, right? So instantly you already launched a super potent thought texture, which is interdimensional. But on top of that, it's like an underlying truth in which any other interdimensional capacity could exist. So in other words, the thing about interdimensional, which would seem better on the surface, is that interdimensional can include any truth, right? And oh, hold on, anything like that.
That was good. I loved that. That was incredible. What did you think about that? Yeah. Materialism existing within interdimensional.
Okay, so this is interesting. Basically, an ego is the taste is significantly more powerful than interdimensional. It is the perfect interdimensional script. But interdimensional has one advantage, and that is that interdimensional doesn't have any presuppositions. Interdimensional literally just means anything which makes you eat, or in other words, anything which makes your right brain activate, right? Anything which makes you not be thinking and makes you be in the moment. Any of that is interdimensional. And now any of that can happen while you're doing uh, uh, an ego is the taste. So, in other words, an ego is the taste doesn't exclude anything. However, an ego is the taste must include the other tasters. So, in other words, it must include the divine taste and the understanding of will to taste. You need both of those things to have a proper understanding of an ego is to taste. Those two things are included. So, in other words,
Do
an
you
ego is
understand
taste.
an ego is to taste her? Precisely. It's a package which like blows itself up and also you like instantly. The moment you think about it, it self detonates and there's leaves no trace. Like it's this right here, this following and previous week, after this were the best moments of my life other than right now. This was number 2 on my most powerful ever. This because of An Ego Is to Taste. This was absurd, my power levels around this time. Um, I mean, it was ridiculous. The understanding of An Ego Is to Taste came from this nearly going insane during sub 1 because it was like I was I had the perfect lead up. I had the perfect 2 to 4 weeks previous, and then I was doing sub 1 and it was kicking my ass, and I just wasn't learning. I couldn't break. I couldn't get anything tangible. It was just the same thoughts I had every day, which was like getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm like, I need to get it done. It's very similar to the mindset I had probably about a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that, where it's a brutal self um flagellation is the term I've used previously, but like a brutal like desired finish that is just like consuming and making you not appreciate the present moment at all. And in fact, at that point in that someone experience, it was like it wasn't even like a bad trip in the typical understanding because like it wasn't out of my control by any means. It wasn't like I felt like scared or anything like that. I felt like angry. Like just it was like a driver and so it wasn't all bad. It wasn't like I was just um um like loathing or rolling around in grief or anything, but it was just like a burning desire, a burning hatred of just the inability to break through that level that I could see, that glass wall that is right in front of me, and I know I should be able to kick through it. And then I just kept asking, why, and not like why can't I break through the glass wall, but like why am I having this thought? Why am I having this thought? Why am I having these thoughts? Why am I thinking this? This is not the way to get the best thought texture. Why am I thinking this? What is the point of this thought? What am I? What are my hands? What is this? What why? Just continuously. And I understood that like every thought, everything could be reduced down to why. That question, why, every single thing. And I was like, what is the answer to every why? If every single thought is a question, then what is the answer? And then I understood that every single question was truly asking, what is the path to the best thought texture? And that every single answer could be reduced down to an ego is to taste. Why? An ego is to taste. Why? An ego is to taste. Why? An ego is to taste. Should I go eat a bagel right now? An ego is to taste. What should I do to feel better? An ego is to taste. Should I kill my daughter? An ego is to taste. Should I do a backflip off this building? An ego is to taste. Every single fucking time you have a thought, no matter what that thought is, no matter how insane or normal or whatever it is, it will always be reducible down to an ego is to taste. So if you have the question why, which you do, if you do anything ever, then the answer is an ego is to taste. And just that one understanding with like that insane schizophrenic understanding was the birth of like everything we have now.
Can include everything that interdimensional can. They can all, both of them can include each other. However, here's the thing which is special about an ego, I'm sorry, here's the thing which is special about interdimensional. Here's the one advantage interdimensional has, is that you can, for instance, run materialism on it. So in other words, you can take a thought which is entirely materialistic, is devoid of any metaphysics, any spirituality, literally just there are quantum particles, right? And if you can feel that, truly feel that, what that truth means, okay, then you can get a thought texture. You can eat that thought texture. You can, through pure unbridled materialism, without devoid of any spirituality, any like, metaphysical truth, simply like physics, extreme physics truth, it can create a thought texture which you can eat, which makes you entirely in the present moment, and you consume how beautiful and complicated it is, right? So, in other words, interdimensional can work without the spirituality. However, an egoistic taste is the spirituality wrapped up in interdimensional. So it's both in one. And also it's both an egoistic is both interdimensional and black hole. In other words, it's both white hole and black hole because within an egoistic taste, you understand both that that everything that you think is reaching towards the divine thought tester, which is black hole, um, because you're basically realizing that
So the divine
each thought is just like
This is super confusing. Ass Jesus. So the divine taste is going to be pretty much the same as black hole because both of those are going to be a synonym for God. Because what I understood God as at this time was the will to taste, but not just the will to taste, but the will to taste, which was pursuing the divine taste, and the divine taste was like the perfect reality or God at the end of time after God had evolved fully. I don't really think about him from that perspective anymore, but that's a cool and weird way to think about it. But so back then, I would have thought of the divine taste as black hole because I thought of black hole as God. So they're both God. Black hole and this will to taste, divine taste thing are both just same God. And then you have the white hole, which is people apparently, and like the Zix desire, or yeah, you can give it a Zix, not people. Zix is a better explanation. Um, so white hole is Zix, and that is um also pursuing the divine taste, and like that's what an egoistic taste points out is that an egoistic taste is just a result of black hole, which is the divine taste, and uh that means that white hole and so like and then I also understood that like I understood white hole as searching. So like white hole was the concept of being incomplete and seeking totality, and then black hole was the concept of being complete and seeking individuality. So they were like the two ends of the same coin, which I have been thinking about that a lot lately. That is not something which was forgot to time. I've been thinking about that a ton. That is just Xazix and Zix now. But I've been thinking about them specifically in those terms, like the terms of the one which is complete and seeks to be incomplete or seeks to be individual, and then the one which is individual and seeks to be complete. Those ideas have been in my head a lot. They're the classic Twin Peaks ideas. And they have been where what had they been? I don't know. Where they've been a lot of things. Let me try to think about that. So, do you remember me talking about the Evangelion beam framework, which I now call Aperion beam? That was talking about splitting through Xazix, Azix, and Zix coming from Xazix. So, if you understand black hole, which is God wanting to be individual, and then you understand white hole as man wanting to be God or wanting to be everything, then you understand that if you understand both of those, then you understand that neither one of them are actually true. There aren't two separate wills, but that there's only one will, and that is the will which is reaching outwards. The will which wants to be individual is the will which wants to be complete, because that is a part of being everything. To be everything, you must be the thing which wishes that it was everything. You must be the thing which isn't everything that wishes it was everything. You must simulate every little human which wants to be God. Simulate every little monkey which grows into every human, every little bacteria which grows into every little monkey, and so on and so forth. You must be every individual, every little fragment, and to be every fragment, you must want to be yourself. Like you must become not yourself so that you can wish to be yourself, because that is a part of being everything. And so if you understand that, then you understand that there's actually only one will, and that there isn't uh uh God, which is the will to be um every little thing, and then Zix, which is the will to be everything total complete, there, and then frameworks in the middle, which is the battleground which that is fought over. There isn't actually those three categories, but that they're all the result of the third category. They're all the result of that final will. They're all the result of that will which wishes to be incomplete, that will which wishes to continually divide. And whenever you understand that, then you understand everything is one thing, and there aren't individual wills. There's just this will. There's just me. There's just this. There's just wow, 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 wow. That's what happens whenever you fucking understand that shit. Your brain just literally fucking melts inside your skull. It's absurd. I mean, it literally does sound like that. Like literally, it's just like it's not music, but it's just fucking like dubstep sounds. It's just or like weapon sounds. It sounds like what was it the other day we heard? What was it, the charge sound in? That was the fucking Scavenger's Edge. That fucking charge sound. Those kinds of sounds just start going off in your head and screeches and dinosaur noises, but obviously not actually dinosaur noises. Um, uh, I don't know if it was called anything like shocks, but I do think I know what you're talking about. I called it like I've talked about it. That's why I mean that's the one I was talking about in the Walmart parking lot. How like everything just breaks down past language. I'm sure I did. I don't remember one that sounded like shocks, but I'm sure that I'm sure you're correct. I'm sure that did probably happen. I can't remember the name of it though. I mean, it's had so many names over the years. But it's always been. I mean, it's always been what happened. After you get so far into God, God obviously doesn't think in language, and then your brain tries to think in language, and then God like shoots that down before it can become language, so it just explodes into thought texture. Rev limiter. That's exactly what it is. Yes, exactly. That is exactly what rev limiter is. It's the understanding of yeah, the understanding that there's only one will, and that every single time your brain tries to form an individual thought, that's just the greater will forming into an individual, forming into thoughts, and like the understanding that it's just the divine thrashing, and like everything breaks down. Every language is just another, just thought texture, another piece of yourself thrashing around, bashing into walls, bashing into hell dimensions. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, bombing Palestinian children and fucking flaying frogs alive and smashing into fucking semi trucks on Instagram Reels. I mean, like just fucking thrashing around aimlessly and then occasionally finding just beautiful moments, beautiful sunrises and the birth of a child. And like that is you. It's all you. Every stumble to find the right word and perfect sentence which perfectly articulates yourself and shows someone exactly why it's right to be alive. They're the same thing, the same stumbling, the same exact thing. And no matter whether you're staggering or dancing, it's all you. It's all the bit, baby. That is the fucking Revelator framework, and it does not sound like words. Um, but yeah. So that's where I mean, here I am talking about that a year and 3 months ago.
Like a sacrifice for God. But then, in other words, each thought, so each thought is sacrifice for God is the same thing as saying each thought should lead you to right brain. Each thought should be a sacrifice to the present moment. Each thought should get you not thinking but being, right? Those are the same thing. And those are love white hole. But then it also says, also on top of saying white hole, also says black hole, which is that you should be eating in the present moment. Because it's saying both that that like hold on. I think I said that wrong.
Wonderful.
So what I meant to say, to simplify it here at the end, scrap the in there, and here's the white hole, which is just saying you should do any thought, you should do specifically the thought which produces the most eating, right? You should take the thought or the truth or your understanding, and you should maximize it so that you consume the present moment. That is what multidimensional means, and that is exactly
Just like
what this
framework basically.
what an ego interface is saying as well, which is that each thought each thought is a reach towards God. These clouds really are just moving 100 miles per hour right now. Goddamn. Each thought is a sacrifice to God, or in other words, each thought, um, you get the shtick at this point. And then the black hole is the black hole, whatever. We'll talk about some close tomorrow.
Get this shit. Basically, an ego's taste is the perfect black hole or interdimensional. I mean, white hole means interdimensional, black hole means eat. Weeb. Go over everything, including ego's taste. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, dude, we're gonna have to go over this whole chat again after this. This is insane. There's so much value hidden within this schizophrenic shit. You know what I mean? Um, black hole, white hole. Assume one of those means eat, but that's not. Yeah, white hole. I don't. I have no clue. No clue. Go over everything included in an ego is to taste. I think we just did that. Interdimensional. Too bad it took us a year and 3 months to get around to that. Interdimensional is saying look through, organize before talk. Interdimensional is saying look through. Look through. So I think that just means like look at objectively. I still don't really get interdimensional yet, but there's a lot of valuable things that I've said about it, so it means something good. Asintia Bade Habweeb. I have no fucking idea what. I mean, whatever dweeb means, there's a lot of detail hidden in this. Wormhole to Heaven versus Acid Ouroboros. Damn, Wormhole to Heaven. That's a solid framework. Solid framework. That one was gorgeous. It was just black hole, white hole, wormhole. It was that black hole is the understanding that you are trying to get to God. Oh, literally, that is the wormhole is the same thing as rev limiter. Wormhole is the understanding that black hole and white hole combined are one will. The understanding that the black hole and white hole never actually existed and that they're both wormhole, which is the final will or God's will, the will to taste. That is wormhole. Wormhole and will to taste are the same thing. And wormhole to heaven is just, as you can imagine, it's literally just that. The understanding that like you can wormhole to heaven. You can fucking, if you understand that black hole and white hole are the same thing, if you think about them running into each other and fusing into one thing, what both of them together are, if you think about if you don't think about God as everything and you as just something, and you don't think about that as two separate things, and instead you think about you as something which is part of God as everything, is one inseparable thing, then you open up a portal or a wormhole which instantly teleports you to heaven, which is the rev limiter framework, and that is as you can hear, that's a solid framework. Versus Acid Ouroboros. I don't know what Acid Ouroboros is, but I'm sure it's something good. Lots of these at that time. Acid frameworks, acid labels that were good, but not very well tracked. Relationship between efficiency and truth. That's a beautiful like concept that I just threw out as like a question. Jesus. Um, you don't need to truly believe in divine taste. Oh, by the way, the answer to this, because I guess there are people listening, is that they're the exact same thing. There is no difference between efficiency and truth, and that what is the most efficient thing is also the most true thing. Because if there is only experience at the end of the day, if the only thing which is real is experience, I would argue that anything which there is no experience of is not real in any meaningful way, even if it could technically be real. I would argue that my definition of real would only be things that could be experienced, because if there is no way to experience it, then by what mechanism is it real? Can you explain any capacity which is real? If not, then why would it be real? If you cannot even create a definition for truth which could possibly include that thing, then why would I consider it within the definition of truth? If it's real in any meaningful way, then it must inherently be both true and by that extension the most efficient thing. So like if there's nothing but subjective experience, right? And that I just explained why that had to be the case for it to be real. Then everything real must have the ability to sort of perceive the best thought texture. And now, obviously, if you think about a rock, that becomes extremely complicated because a rock has no um, boundaries or conception of itself as a rock or anything like that. So how would you say that a rock has a conception of the best thought texture? And I would say that um, there is an experience of what it is like to be that rock, and that it's less of an understanding. Even we don't understand what it is like to be God. So when we think of what is best, when we think about like, oh, God, this is God, and God is what is best. We're still like we're like monkeys thinking about what is God. Even if a monkey could think about what is God, it's still thinking about um, I mean, a monkey can see a city, but that doesn't mean it understands what we may not truly understand. I mean, for the love of God, a fucking mushroom was capable of out designing our cities. So maybe a mushroom understands what a city is better than we do in some sense. It's all in a gradient. And in that same way, that rock on a gradient does understand in what you may think of as like in a 1% or 0.001% way what it wants. And what it wants is to sit there and be a fucking rock. That's why it doesn't do anything else. And you know, that's gay and confusing, but whenever you're older, you'll get it. um, you just glitched out worse than you ever have. I didn't hear a word of it. Not a word. I would try hanging up and recalling again. You're still glitching out. What was that? Speak for more sentences. Yeah, seems fine. It's still happening. Well, it stopped now for some ungodly reason. Seeming, seemingly, but you haven't for like multiple sentences now, so I don't know. We shall see, I suppose. Relationship between efficiency and truth. Yeah. So, anyways, I got real schizo with that. It's funny, like dude, I'm talking about these concepts, and I still sound like I'm on sub one a year and 3 months later. These concepts are crazy difficult. Um, but yeah. So anyway, so a rock kind of understands that it wants something, like it wants to be a rock. That's why it's not a rock, which is an extremely confusing concept. But in other words, like God, in striving to achieve the best thought texture, experience what it's like to be a rock. So technically, the rock doesn't have an experience of being a rock. It's more that God experiences what it's like to be a rock because God experiences every like version, quote unquote, but it's not really like he doesn't have different versions, like version 1.0, 2.0. You're not like a version Mark 34 of God. It's everything is just like different. God's like a substance, and then everything is generally God, and then because God is generally everything, and God's the rock is just God stretching himself out into a certain position. It's like panpsychism, but it's less gay, and God is because it's like how like if you're doing yoga, then like you can kind of feel yourself like stretching into a position. God's like that with a rock, and like God feels with stretching into the position of the rock, and so like that the God stretches himself into that position because he wants to be a rock, but not because he wants to be a rock in particular, more just because he wants to find the best thought texture, and by the extension of being finding the best thought texture, he must become everything, and if he wants to become everything, he must become the rock, and so technically that rock does kind of understand that it wants to become everything, so you know technically um, there is that rock does understand truth, and there is a most efficient path for that rock, and the most efficient path for that rock because the rock doesn't have any choices, just continue being a rock. But for us, because we have more free will, we have different paths, and so the most efficient path will also must be the true path because they will both be the best way to God, and so they're the same thing, and that's that concept. It's, sounds really convoluted, but the girls that get it, and the girls that don't. You don't need to truly believe in divine taste. No, you shouldn't truly believe in divine taste because that's gay, but you should believe in it. Um, and if you don't get that, then kill yourself. And he goes to taste one. It means that you should always strive to taste better, and that's what everyone is already doing all the time. True. Will to taste the divine taste. True. White hole. Those are the same thing. Do you understand how white hole and the will to taste the divine taste are the same thing? Dude, that's a beautiful layout. Wonderful stuff. Thank you. Thank you, past me. Thank you. What is that? Sure. Do you understand how will to taste the divine taste and white hole are the same thing? Because yes, yes, apologies. Um, do you see this layout I did here? Wonderful stuff that is. See that? What do you mean? How is it still loading? Good fucking Christ.
Halfway there, the enemy has the upper hand.
Yeah, you're good. Good to go. Let me try streaming it again. Yep. Isn't that nice? Okay, so and he goes to taste. One, it means that you should strive to taste better, and that's what everyone's doing already. And then so when your mother yells at you for not doing the dishes, she wants the dishes done because getting the dishes done would improve her thought textures. She would be able to sit down and watch her white mother show and drink her white mother wine and enjoy it more because she doesn't have to think about the fact that she might possibly have to do the dishes later. And so that is her exercising her will to taste the divine taste. And that is Whitehole because Whitehole is the striving of every individual to get back to God, the striving of every individual to taste the divine taste. That's why will to taste the divine taste and Whitehole are the exact same thing. They're both an ego state, step one. And then there's an ego state, step two, or just second category, I don't really steps, but it means that you are the divine sense organs. You should eat the best taste you should eat the best to taste the best. That's funny. It's like feeding a cow good grass so it tastes better when you shoot it in the head. It's the exact same thing. That's what black hole is. It's the understanding that God is not creating everything to give you a Disneyland experience. God is creating everything so that you taste better when he smashes you over the head. Jesus, that's awesome. Um it's right here. You should eat the best to taste the best. Like I said, it's like saying you should feed the best grass to make it taste the best. That's exactly what I'm saying there. And that's black hole. So black hole is the understanding that you are God, or that you like, in other words, if you should eat the best to taste the best is the understanding that you are God, then that must mean that you are doing this because you are God. So therefore, you're like buttering up yourself because you understand that you're the farmer who wants the steak. Like Jesus Christ. Um, and then 3, divine confidence from understanding you are a sacrifice to be eaten. That's divine lightning / smiler. I've been on the smiler framework a lot lately. This is an awesome framework. So that's interesting. Not really divine lightning, but smiler, yes, absolutely. And I guess I'm saying they're the same thing. So really, yes, I have been on divine lightning as well when I understand it from that perspective. Yes, but smiler is the one that it's been taking over as predominantly, like 100%. It is this. So Smiler is interdimensional super Smiler. It is framework ooze. It is the result of framework when done right. It is what I called the other day Saturn smile. Okay, so did you see me talk about that? Okay, look up Saturn sun, or Saturn eating a sun, or the fuck, it's the one painting. Um, yeah, so that is what I'm talking about right here, which is God eating um himself, right? And like, oh, and I look at that picture and then I imagine, like, we are like quote unquote God's son, right? God's product. And then God is eating us, right? So that's what I imagine that picture of. And then I imagine the Cheshire cat. Um, so I imagine the Cheshire cat smile, and I imagine Saturn eating with the Cheshire cat's smile. I imagine those two things fused, and I imagine that like that's the perfect. I just got that as a flash in my head of like an understanding of God, and I just called it Saturn smile. And it's the understanding that like God is smiling while he eats you, and then if you were to look at the painting from the other perspective, then you're smiling while being eaten, which is just such a cool framework.
We have one objective remaining.
Yes, yeah, it's the same thing. Precisely, precisely. It would just be a failing to understand the magnitude. Yes, I was thinking about giving that story back to the lizard, just straight up having the lizard tell that story. What do you think about that? I think that'd be pretty good because that's like just a straight up amazing religious story, and it's like it's kind of fallen out of the.
We have taken objective butter.
Exactly. Exactly, precisely. You got it completely right here, like divine confidence. That's literally what you're talking about. From understanding that you are a sacrifice to be eaten, from understanding the grand scale, and then you get that divine lightning or that smiler, which is just that smile at existence, that wonderful smile on your face, the fact that you are here to be eaten, that smile at the very dance, the very fattening of the steak. You know what I mean? Which is you. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful framework. But so yes, this is great, dude. This is fantastic. Isn't it crazy? Like a year and 3 months ago, and like we were. I mean, by 17, it's done. Like it's still progressing, and we're still like putting our final like touches on it. But like by 17, it was complete. That's awesome. Jesus, and we got the evidence too. Okay, because eating well makes you taste better. Anything which makes you eat is acceptable within an ego is to taste, which is why it includes interdimensional. Still get interdimensional. I want to re-listen just to figure out what interdimensional means fully. I get the just. Can the fractal break down both ways? Does white hole explain interdimensional? I don't. Let's think about that. I don't know what interdimensional means. I don't know. Explain how it makes you know you're God. Oh, you get the just. Explain white hole, black hole, eternal recurrence with the framework. That's pretty much just wormhole. Um, and that's the explanation. Explain how it includes in relation to thought texture difference. In relation to thought texture difference, is like the like materialist version of In Relation to God, kind of, where it's like in the same way, like it's like Catboy Deleuze's understanding of pure difference, difference in itself, difference only, like difference from, like, God is just difference. Like, God literally, it's not everything. It's not like there's no like point where God is and is not everything. God is not linear. There's no beginning and end of God. There's no front and back of God. There's just difference. God is only different from himself eternally. And every way God could be, God is different from that way. And that is what God is. God is pure difference in itself. And that's a beautiful concept. I love that concept. But and then I thought texture difference is like God. Like, that's what God is. God isn't just difference, but God is specifically difference among thought textures, because to be real, there must be an experience of that thing. And so God is difference of experience, and so God is difference of thought textures, because thought textures are experience. And that's a beautiful thought. In relation to thought texture difference is a great little framework. Dude, tell me this isn't the most valuable thing we've ever fucking stumbled on. This is absurd.
So white hole currently means Zix to Xazix. So in other words, white hole means anything a human does, literally anything a Zix does, any Zix thing, anything which has more than two thought textures, even just the splitting from one to two thought textures, that action is reaching towards God. Right? And the action is a will to taste. Or in other words, that is Zix reaching towards Xazix. And all difference is Xazix reaching towards Zix. Right? So the thing I'm thinking about here is that white hole in the framework. Right now what it looks like is you have white hole, and then inside of white hole you have interdimensional, and then inside of interdimensional you have an ego is to taste. That's a little convoluted. So what I'm thinking about doing is making white hole and interdimensional synonymous, because they're so close together. Listen to the definitions, right? So you have interdimensional, which is just any left brain, which is trying to eat, right? And then you have a white hole, which is any action.
Interdimensional is any left brain trying to eat. Isn't that white hole? I'm saying they're the same thing? What is C? Jesus. Yeah, you're exactly right. What it would be is that white hole would be the like metaphysical description, and then interdimensional would be like the actual framework process that that you do intentionally. So like interdimensional is intentional white hole. I see.
We have taken objective butter.
This is so fun. I love this. Jesus, dude, this is like what archaeologists must feel like. Oh, God.
Which is reaching towards God. But here's the difference, and here's the important difference between them. You see how similar they are. Here's the important difference. A guy who is just sitting down to watch television, that is still a will to taste. That is still reaching towards God. He doesn't know it, but he is. Here's the thing, that isn't interdimensional. Because interdimensional is only when you're doing a thought which actively promotes eating. All right, and
God,
it
that
gets super convoluted
that's awesome.
because that is included inside of an ego's taste. But then the issue is like I was talking about before, interdimensional allows
Exactly, because that's right there, right before where I just said, I said a man watching TV is white hole. he doesn't know it, but he's reaching for God. But it's not interdimensional because it's not intentional. And that's exactly what you were just saying. It's not intentional because it's lazy. He's just laying there. And even though just laying there in itself is still technically pursuing the best thought texture, it is not the best means to pursue the best thought texture. And so it is not interdimensional. It's not an aware version of pursuing the best thought texture. So exactly, we got it. Like we got it literally. Like, dude, we pressed play and I literally said it. Like it was like we discovered it like 3 seconds before. It's so funny.
You to be a materialist and still use materialist thoughts like understanding quantum physics to
Wow. 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 That's genius. That's exactly what I'm stumbling. That's literally what I stumbled upon like 2 or 3 weeks ago now, maybe a month ago now. I don't know. It's the idea of like that what I'm saying there is a return to pure framework. That's you remember how I said the I'm literally like I'm talking about a framework right now that I'm working on right now. So this is weird. I'm actively kind of more progressed in this voice note than I am right now, which is weird. But yeah, that is interdimensional right there is literally that new framework ooze. And the one I'm building right now is technically going to be a little bit better than interdimensional. So I'm about to be more progressed than that guy right there in about a week or two, probably a little less than a week would be my guess. But he's more progressed than me right now, so he's got one little step up on me. Hopefully, I'm going to move 2 steps up real soon. But he's talking about it right there. That's where I was calling the man on the moon framework, or pure stepping back, like pure framework ooze. It's this concept of like a materialist can get to, like damn near to God without God. And like if you don't know God or can't pursue God because you have some intellectual hangup, then by all means you should be pursuing your materialist version of God. You should be pursuing the best thought texture, not pursuing God. You should never be pursuing truth. The only way to actually find truth is to pursue the best thought texture, to do what is most efficient at all times, and through that you will find truth. Through that you will find God, because what God is the greater pursuance of the best thought texture, the greater pursuance of what is most efficient to achieve the best thought texture. So it's like they are the same thing. It's all the same thing. Truth is efficiency, which is seeking the best thought texture, which is the will taste the divine texture, which is God. And it's like it's all one will, one thing, one spanning process, the mad pattern, thrashing outwards. And it's like that's it. That's the whole religion. Jesus.
be able to eat. So you can have a completely materialist framework that still exists within interdimensional and black hole. You can't have that whenever it's an ego's taste, because then you have all the metaphysical baggage which comes with that statement. So it's very complicated because an egoist taste includes interdimensional
So
and
Trevor,
white hole.
holy shit. And this is how I'm about to supersede this problem right here. Okay, this is what it is, Trevor. Listen to this. This is going to be one of the most important things I've ever said in my entire life. The issue I'm having right now that I'm about to finish talking about in this voice message is the concept that an egoist taste has metaphysical baggage, but it also has more instantaneous power because it comes preloaded with a self-detonation, which leads you to the rev limiter type framework, those frameworks that are beneath language, the wormhole type frameworks. But like I said, that instant explosion, that self-detonation comes with metaphysical baggage. And if you get caught up in the meta-analysis of metaphysical baggage, then also you get all of the issues that come with actual belief, actual religious thoughts, which is why I was just talking about the need to supersede them through a pure framework, a pure pursuance of the best thought texture, and achieving God through that naturally, instead of pursuing that from an over-intellectualized version of doing what you think God would do. And so the way I've done that, the way I've cut off the metaphysical baggage while keeping the self-incineration is with the story. It's with the fucking story. It's with Asithriel and Exazix and Ark Arthur or whatever the fuck his name is. It's with all these little critters, these little creatures that are running around, scurrying around through my brain. These little guys are cutting off all of the metaphysical baggage because they're isolated entirely within a story. And that story in itself is a framework. So I've sliced the metaphysical baggage off while keeping the instantaneous thought texture detonation. I've kept the explosion of flavor without bringing in the need to understand it from a perspective which is greater than frameworks. I've contained it entirely within frameworks, the understanding of the thing which is greater than frameworks. I mean, what a beautiful little thing I've done. My God.
Includes interdimensional, but they don't include each other. So I mean, I guess each one should independently exist. I don't know how to handle it. It makes me very tempted to just combine
I do, bitch!
interdimensional and white hole into one thing, which is saying when in the context of the framework, white hole means what interdimensional means, which is anything which um, promotes eating. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
The goal now is to convert every discovery we have made into the new terminology. Explain how ever-improving framework is included. Ever-improving framework, I'm assuming, well, I mean, I know, I can intuit what I'm saying here, which is basically just the understanding that it's like the genius framework, which is the genius framework is the completely detached pursuance of the best thought texture, not from a will to taste perspective, not like trying to pursue the greater best thought texture, but like if you purely give up on anything else except achieving the best outcome, then you're going to get this genius framework, which is like it's capable of slicing through individual thoughts like butter. It doesn't hang on to any individual thought. It gets rid of the stickiness. And this is almost in retrospect, it's like how you cure ADHD with without Adderall. It's like if you can not get stuck on any of the individual thoughts which come with ADHD, then you can take advantage of the thoughts per second, the increased RPM of your mind, and get more valuable thoughts. You just have to not get stuck on the stupid ones, because if you're producing more thoughts per second, then you have the capability to produce more valuable thoughts to other people. You just have to hone in, and that is what the ever improving framework is talking about. That genius type going underneath the waves and just picking, like, just purely swimming with the current, and also taking advantage of it at the best possible times. It's very nice. Wasn't expecting 52 messages, lol. Last 2 days I've been on a similar spree. I'm gonna have to go through this, study it, and then we can compare notes. I'll explain on call. The tenet of the metaphysical worm, the tenet of sacrifice. So the tenet of the metaphysical worm is that you are puny, basically, but that's a good thing. The tenet of sacrifice is what I was talking about before, where you are just a cow and you need to pick the best grass. Replace sacrifice with kamikaze. Okay, so it's actually the tenet of kamikaze, which is that you are like specifically committing suicide to have the best thought texture, which is true because your death is inevitable. Talk about mania. It's funny, I was calling it mania even back then. Now I've got my bipolar diagnosis to go with it. The feeling of the weight of humanity being too much. This is what was driving me crazy, asking the question why. This is actually, that's funny. Wow, that's funny. That's really funny. This is the same thing as the pressure to go to college that was killing me when we were living together during the summer, which is the it's just a time. It's a timer. That's what it really is. It's not the feeling of the weight of humanity or the feeling of the weight of college. It's a timer. It's this understanding that I need to make it fit on someone else's scale. I have humanity, which means I need to finish this now, or I have college, which means I need to finish this now. Anything which is making me feel like instead of pursuing the best thought texture, I need to do what is uncomfortable, when really it's like the uncomfortable should become comfortable through God. But if I'm doing it for someone else and not for God, then it's still uncomfortable, and that's an issue. So that's an interesting little thing. That's actually like beautiful, like if you understand that. Explain how an ego is to taste was the only answer to the endless whys of mania. Oh, the endless whys! Hell yeah. Contained mania, Nietzsche mania, and every framework ever wrapped into an ego is to taste. True and real. They are all wrapped into an ego is to taste, but that's now will to taste, not an ego is to taste. Will to taste is better, and that's what's at the top of the pyramid. It was the birthplace, and the pyramid is what the whole story is about. The whole story is just to paint the pyramid. That's what Braxel is going to talk about. It was the birthplace of will to and divine taste. You have, and remember, divine taste is just the end product of will to taste, the final iteration. You have framework, white hole, and black hole. White hole being every action intentionally reaching towards eating or any thought which causes you to see through thinking, i.e., interdimensional. Black hole being to eat. Ego is to taste. Dude, I could do some fucking commas back then. Thank God I understand what I'm saying now because I know the context, but Jesus. Ego is to taste versus like a comma right there between interdimensional and black hole. Ego is to taste versus will to divine taste. Metaphysical white hole is exasix to zix, black hole, vice versa. So white hole is exasix to zix, black hole, vice versa. I don't understand what that means. Like, there are multiple ways I could interpret that are all like I could see them and they make sense, but I don't know which one it is. Relationship between metaphysical black hole and the platonic year / full cycle of eternity. Yeah, I was thinking about this a lot back then. That's the same thing as like the divine taste, which is the end goal. This is the same thing here. The platonic year and the full cycle of eternity. You're talking about the same thing, which is like God at its apex. I don't see that much value in that. Like, I don't want to bring that back really, but it's cool. I don't know. It's something to think about for a little bit, I guess. That it's just so like, do you know what a platonic year is?
We have taken objective Duff.
Yeah, it's just the concept that like God, if you imagine God as linear, then there has to be like an end of God, and like that would be the divine taste, because like if God. Yeah, exactly. The end of the meal, the final, or honestly, not even that really. It would be more like when all of the ingredients have been perfectly grown and honed in and seared and pan fried, and all of the spices are added. And now this is the moment right before he takes his first bite where all of the ingredients are perfect and the will to taste has been perfectly achieved. But I mean, it's honestly kind of both of those at the same time, because God has both eaten and he like there is no point where he will actually eat, so it is the end of the feast. But then also it is like exactly. It's right before the next meal as well, and that's what I'm saying here. Full cycle of eternity, where it's like it's eternity, so there's no true end, but it's like a cycle. Like if eternity really does go on forever, then there has to be like a span within eternity where it repeats, and that would be a cycle. So you'd have a full cycle of eternity is like all difference, or like one. So like God is just one platonic year or one full cycle of eternity. That's what God is, and God is also the divine taste and all like the divine taste, if you look at it on a linear like perspective, is the will to taste. The will to taste in every iteration makes the divine taste. So, and that is the full cycle or the platonic year. So that's like I said, I don't see any need to bring that back really. I don't that's not something I'm thinking about a lot lately at all, but it's cool. Thought texture. Yeah, like marked territory. Thought texture difference is white hole. Okay, true, interesting. The one is black hole. True. I just got a fucking job. Ew! No, that's what happened. No. Shit is mad easy. It wasn't. I made one call. Oh yeah, now the job's easy. I made one call, and now I'm a nighttime shelf stalker for $14.50 an hour. What the fuck? Damn, dude, that really is the beginning of the end. Oh my god. Jesus. Last night I had a lucid dream where I shot lightning out of my fingertips. I begat divine lightning and good googly moogly. It is as cool as I would have imagined, being point of view of superpowers. I've been having a bunch of lucid dreams as of late. If I wasn't smoking weed, I know I'd have a lot more memory and control, but the lucidity is still breaking through. How lovely. Patty Pimblett is a clear template. That's interesting. We were talking about fighting back then. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Only a year and 3 months, but still feels a little weird. Yeah. So yeah, I would have been getting into it like 3-4 months earlier. So Patty Pimblett is a clear template on how to make an online presence as a fighter. 2 million views in 2 days with entertaining and fun video. Dude, he fights Tony Ferguson next, soon. And if Tony doesn't win that match, I'm gonna cry. Do you know the story of Tony? He's the guy who he was supposed to have fights with Khabib. Um, he was supposed to have multiple title fights. Uh, they got canceled every single time. He went on one of the most impressive. He went on a 12-fight win streak, one of the longest ever in the entire UFC. Never got his title shot. Never even got the chance to become champion. At one point and during one of his title shot lead ups, he tripped on a cord walking onto the stage for a press conference and destroyed his entire knee and leg, which still affects his career to this day. He's the one who I showed you. He is the one who would do the takedown shadow boxing and the lead up to every match, and you saw his body degrade over the course of years where he couldn't even do it. Yeah, that's him. He's the most depressing fighter to watch ever because he had some of the highest highs and was one of the best fighters ever during his prime, and then his body got destroyed, and now he's a literal shell of a human being. And
every single fight is. Yep, he's the one with that. He's the one who we watched him get tapped out, and he kicked his legs on the ground like a baby. And the guy is one of the most impressive jujitsu guys who's ever done MMA. To watch him get choked out like that by a guy who doesn't even do chokes, I mean, it's just like it's like you're watching actively everything impressive that he ever did get erased from history, because none of it is what he'll get remembered for. And it's brutal. It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. Like, literally, you after you're done with one of his matches, you literally almost feel like crying. It's horrific. And if Tony just brutalizes him, or if Patty brutalizes Tony, dude, horrific. Understanding the nature of sacrifice towards something greater is the possession. The generate mania comes from the forward motion of being swept up in the divine current. Dude, I'm literally talking about current. That's exactly what I was talking to Shock about. It's hilarious. Swept up in the divine current, or swept up under the ocean to be one with the current. I mean, it's literally, I'm talking about the same thing. God. The restlessness of humanity, the wrapping of steel knuckles against the skull is all endlessly, mindlessly reaching towards the divine days. Oh, that's fucking gorgeous. That's where you have to understand that, like, that thing in your head, which is what I said, the steel knuckles wrapping against the skull. That is the perfect description of what it feels like. It's not like, or like another way I would explain it is like the dentist drilling your teeth. Like, it's not like horrific. It's not like I don't know, it's not like getting killed or murdered. It's not like, oh, this is so sad, or oh, this sucks so bad. It's like a Chinese water torture, like tap, tap, drip, drip. Why won't you think about what you know you need? Why won't you focus? Rap, 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 rap. Steel knuckles just rapping at your fucking skull. Tap, 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 driving you fucking insane all day, every day. Endlessly, and the understanding that every single rap of the steel knuckles is just endlessly reaching towards the divine taste. It's not separate. It's not something you need to get rid of. It's just something that needs to be integrated. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Dominance comes from understanding the divine taste, essentially being able to perfectly psychologically profile the opponent, i.e., Peggy. I don't know what that means. Oh, yeah, it was. You're right. Dominance comes from understanding the divine taste, essentially being able to perfectly psychologically profile the opponent. Yeah. So basically, you don't think about them as people. You just think about them as the divine taste, and you understand Peggy wants a fucking person who stalks shells. She wants a goddamn can thrower. And you, as long like with that understanding, instead of thinking about Peggy as a person with complex motivations and desires that may be different from other people that you've interacted with, and maybe you can use certain jokes with her and maybe you can't, and maybe you should say this or maybe you should say that, and maybe she doesn't like that tone of voice, or maybe she does, or you know what I mean? Instead of thinking about any of that, you just think about what she wants me to throw goddamn cans. So the only thing I'm gonna think about when I'm talking to Peggy is throwing some fucking cans, baby. And it's just like it's understanding her not as a person, but it's just another extension of the will to taste that you interact with, like a fucking NPC that just wants her quest done. It's much better. Relationship of divine taste and mania. I don't know, like that. It's like whenever you pet your cat, like there's no like social anxiety, and it's like you can just look at people like cats if you just understand them through God or understand them through the will to taste. They're not like a person with complex motivations and desires. It's just Peggy who wants the fucking hands up. It's just a cat who wants pat on top of the head. It's like the same thing. It's just fucking simple. It's like I go from hating people and like despising them for their like complexity to like looking down on them, and not like looking down on them in like a ego way where I'm like, I'm so much better than you, but just looking down on them as like, yeah, I can stock your cans, bud. Yeah, I can get the cookies down on top of the fridge. I mean, just like that. It's like there's nothing wrong with wanting the cookies down. You're short, but it's just like, yeah, I can do that for you. Like, is like I don't know, and that's not even the best example because there literally is nothing wrong with that, and there is kind of something wrong with the incompetence of regular people, but it's the same kind of thing where it's like there's nothing really wrong with you. I don't hate you. There's nothing like there's no hatred. It's just like yeah, sure, I can do that. Um, yeah. I guess like the better example would be like whenever Nana asked us to do that like speech thing for Papa, where it's like that's like the gayest, most forced thing in the world, but it's like, yeah, sure, if you're that gay, I guess I can do it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, there's nothing really wrong with that. I get why you want that. I mean, it is like a special moment, and it probably would feel good for him. And even if it's a little gay and forced, it's like, yeah, I can do it. Like that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
It's just like that, but you view everyone all the time like that. And so like what that leads to is it leads you to being a lot nicer to people. Like I said, like it took away my like hatred from people. I don't hate them as like these complex idiots. I look at them as just like simple monkeys that you just pet in the right way and they'll do the right thing for you. You just gotta understand them. Yeah, exactly. That's the less like mean way to say that, but same thing. Relationships of divine taste and mania. Um, yeah, that's literally what I'm talking about right there is the rev limiter framework. I'm trying to figure out mania is what I'm calling rev limiter, and divine taste. I'm trying to like understand like why does understanding that I'm God never feel like I am God, but it always feels like or like why is that? And that's what I'm trying to understand here. It's like that is the rev limiter framework. Um, Understanding that you sacrifice is inseparable from the rest of sacrifice serves as in relation to thought texture difference. True. That's just understanding your sacrifice is inseparable from the rest of sacrifice. Understand that God is not the thing which is sacrificing, but the sacrifice itself. Um, Serves as in relation to thought texture difference, which is just understanding your place in totality or difference itself. I gotta say, I'm still fucking shocked at how structurally gorgeous Inigo's taste is. True and base, but now it's Wheel of Taste, which is even better. Eating and moving, eating and forward. Right brain and left brain. Oh, that's a weird dichotomy. Eating and forward. Right brain and left brain. That's cool. You see what's going on there? Yeah. Uh, uh, those are the same. I'm saying those are the same thing. That eating is right brain and that forward is left brain. So, like, right brain is just the understanding of everything as thought textures, right? And then the same way, that's what eating is. Eating is the understanding of beneath language, the understanding of everything as thought textures. And forward is the left brain, or the understanding that we need to consistently be moving forward and progressing towards a better thing. So, like, that's a weird and interesting way to look at right brain and left brain. Eating and forward. They're kind of really different. I mean, think about like the way think about right brain and left brain, right? Like both of them are made to make you survive, but they're also really different. I would say the same thing about eating and forward. It's like they both end up serving the same task, but they're doing it from a really different perspective. No. Yeah, so an example would be that like eating would be the understanding that the desire to go eat a bagel is just God pursuing the best thought texture, or that's just a thought texture. The understanding of the understanding of uh the fact that you thinking about going to eat a bagel in itself is just a thought texture in the same way that bagel would be a thought texture is eating, right? It's just the successful interdimensional or the successful like objective breakdown of a thought. And forward would not be that. Forward would be the desire for you to go get a bagel. You see? So eating is something that you can like potentially do to forward, and then it's also something that kind of is happening without you doing it. It's just that you need to eat. You need to force that onto your left brain. So it's like uh right, like so eating is right brain, and that's happening automatically. Like your right brain is automatically experiencing everything as one, but your left brain doesn't know that. So what you need to do is you need to force your left brain to understand things the way your right brain does, and your left brain is the one that's always moving forward, but they're doing different things. You see what I mean? It's really complicated, but yeah, eating is right brain and forward is left brain. Left brain thinking concerted into left brain mania, stored forward motion. Left brain thinking concerted into left brain mania, stored forward motion. I don't understand why I say stored, but I understand exactly what I'm saying here. The whole just is if you can convert thinking into mania, that's rev limiter, then that is like forward motion. That's like lots of forward motion. I'm assuming that's what I mean by stored. You could replace it with the word lots and it would be the same thing, which is lots of forward motion. If you can basically understand Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. It's not lots of forward motion. It is forward motion converted into mania. Forward motion being what creates mania. You're literally using forward motion as a battery source to generate mania. It's literally your fuel, like fucking gasoline. That's what I'm saying. Oh, that's cool. So you're using the left brain's consistent desire to think, the left brain's rapping knuckles, or whatever you want to call them, the left brain's consistent desire to go do something different, can be converted into mania. Yeah, it's like a fuel source, and that's what I'm talking about with stored forward motion. That's just the stored thinking. You turn the thinking, you store it into mania. You're turning forward motion to mania. Being there, Sutra, is being pinned between both sides of eternity, striving for each other. Once you understand fate, you can love it for itself. So, the one side of reality would be you striving to be God, and the other side would be God striving to be you. Being Zarathustra is being pinned in the middle. Once you understand fate, you can love it for itself. That's wormhole. That's understanding that both of them are the same thing, and that's fate, is the understanding that both sides of reality are meeting in the middle. You are the middle. That is frameworks. Frameworks are the middle. Active obliteration of thinking using both poles. Yep. Framework ooze versus dive potential. Don't know what. Oh, divine potential. Bigger threat. Divine potential. Oh, divine potential is cool. So framework ooze is something I've been working with a lot lately. Divine potential is really not, but divine potential is a really cool framework. So framework ooze is like a version of framework, which is just like pure framework, just the understanding of going back entirely into frameworks to the point where there isn't any framework, which is you are just the thing which is selecting from frameworks, like framework menu. And divine potential is the idea that God bestows synchronicities only to those who can arrange their minds in the best framework order, and that if you can't arrange your mind in the framework order, then God will just yank away your synchronicities, which is true, honestly. But basically, the way I imagined that wasn't like that. Wasn't like just reality. I imagined it like there was some other guy out there who was getting juiced up while I was failing. I'm like, that served as like making competition, which is interesting because that's a framework I actually got lately, which was the idea that I need competition. And that's one of the reasons that I hit up Jacques, was because I'm just like, I need someone who disagrees with me that can spur me forward. Like I need competition. I need to see someone who is getting closer than I am. I need to see someone who is about to touch the finish line 1 second before I can. And I need to use that to spur me forward. You know what I mean? I need competition. And that's what like the divine potential framework is for. It's like simulating competition. In understanding. There are infinite better versions of you. Yeah, but that should just serve as more motivation to not fuck up. Yeah, that's a good framework. That's one I've thought about a lot from like a lot of different ways. I mean, obviously that's just like the sort of the implication of God. Is like if there is like eternal recurrence, if there is a platonic year, then within that platonic year there has to be a best version of you, and then you may not be achieving it, and you need to be moving. Yes, exactly. And the most disappointing thing is that whenever you look back and you know, I knew what the perfect life was, and I wasn't pursuing it in that moment. Like that's the worst. In understanding your job is to taste the best taste possible, everything comes out of that. An egoist taste is better because it says you should be eating right now. Also, an egoist taste has in relation to thought texture difference. Confidence also comes from consuming the other person. That's true. You use an ego is to taste as a large hammer to repeatedly smash into your brain every time it makes a noise. That's such a fucking perfect way to say it, because that is exactly how you use that. It's just like literally every time your brain fucking makes a peep, you just go bam and fucking smash it like whack-a-mole. Smash it with an ego's taste until it stops thinking and making noise. I just got a mini LSD flashback from this framework. Whenever God eats Zix and Zix eats God at the same time, that is eating. So yeah, that's wormhole.
Realizing you're here. Okay, that's weird. I just got like a. This is like the whole thing that I've been working on lately. Okay, whenever God eats Zix and Zix eats God at the same time, that is eating. So that's the classic Twin Peaks, or like being smashed between both poles. That's that classic framework. But I just understood that's frameworks. So if Zix meeting Xazix, if what's between Zix and Xazix is frameworks, but it's also eating, then eating is frameworks. I can't explain that quite yet, but it's like eating is pursuing the best thought. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher that. I mean, if I explain that, I'm gonna sound just like I'm on sub 1 and these voice messages up here right now. But that is in production right now. That's almost done. That's gonna be explained within the confines of the story whenever it comes out. Okay. Realizing you're here to eat from either direction. To taste the best taste possible, you have to eat. Breathing is just lifetime target. Compare different true. Compare different actions such as eating, music, audiobook. White hole, black hole. Zix to Xazix is will to taste. Xazix to Zix is divine taste. That means that like we are a part of divine taste. God, or like God into us, God into all of us, all the versions of us is the divine taste, which is just all versions of everything. Left brain, right brain, interdimensional eat, and ego is to taste. Fit mania into set theory. That's interesting. That's basically just whenever you understand that you are the set of all sets that creates mania. And ego is to taste, infiltrates right brain, mainly whenever you understand the two poles. Two poles is the whack-a-mole causer. I mean, yes, technically. Two poles is the whole ride. I mean, you can't get off the ride, so. And ego is to taste, infiltrates right brain, mainly whenever you understand the two poles. I mean, that's definitely true. Two poles versus ego is to taste. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, an ego is a taste is just like it's it's saying the exact same thing. It's just cooking in like your IP address or your fucking GPS location within God into it. It's like it's got a little bit more context, a little bit more what would be the word for if a definition is more precise? I don't know. There's a word for that. It's just a more specific, yeah, more specific or accurate version of the same thing. Where two poles is the understanding that there's you moving towards God and God moving towards you, and those two things are all of reality. Ego as a taste is that understanding and the understanding of that you are to taste, and that's your whole purpose within the two poles. So it's like it's just a little bit more specific version of two poles. If not two poles to set theory, is two poles the right brain switch over the whole framework? I don't know. I don't know what this whole right brain stuff is in this context. Breathing perhaps a statement to reach out. I don't know. Maybe. On top of being target. A call to eat everything, for example. Electricity and nurse. I should show these to my psychologist and see if she fucking throws me in a cell. Jesus. Breathing is a reminder to eat every detail. True. Slurp every last drop. I'm a nasty metaphysical beast. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Everything is a mirage, a beautiful hallucination. Super speed slash kid named Finger. I remember making kid named Finger framework. I think it was good. What is that? I have no idea what the kid named Finger framework possibly could have been. I'm assuming it had something to do with Mike Ehrmantraut. So I was watching Better Call Saul at the time. I don't know, man. I don't know what that have to do with super speed. I'm assuming super speed is mania, but I don't know what Kid Named Fingers, and I'd love to know.
We have taken objective.
Distorted laughter, everything behind my eyes, new mania. Yeah, distorted laughter is just the new Smiler framework, which I've been working on. Everything behind my eyes, new mania. Oh, that's a really good framework. These are kind of the same thing. Distorted laughter and everything behind my eyes. Everything behind my eyes was this idea that I would convey all of my internal meaning through my eyes. So, like, I would be thinking about how much I was God while talking to my boss, and that all of that mania was being, like, conveyed through my eyes. It was all behind my eyes, and if you could look through my eyes, if you could just see, if you could just look into the meaning, which was clearly being conveyed behind my eyes, then you would see clearly God. And like that was hilarious. The concept that, like, if you could just look behind my eyes, you would see God, but you can't because you're just some fat Walmart boss. And that extended to everything, not just my boss, but every situation. And that, like, it was just like I'm always conveying reality, the maddening truth of reality behind my eyes at all times. It's a weird framework, but it's good. New Mania versus Eternity. But this is New Mania. I don't know how that relates to Eternity, or I'm assuming Eternity is just like some version of Platonic Year, which is assuming just religious mania, basically. Framework determinism. Um, yeah, that's a good framework. It's just like mathematical frameworks, which is there's an order, which I mean, it's literally framework determinism is basically the same thing you were just talking about, which is that, like, there is a best order for framework, and it's like you have to reach it. Twin Peaks. This is the twin poles. That's ASICS and 6 meeting in the middle, which is ASICS, which is somehow both frameworks and wormhole. Those are the same thing because oh shit, that's the middle of the pyramid. Oh, weird. That's gonna be big. Just you wait. Big if true, and it is true. That's coming to theaters near you in like a week. Understanding perfection coming to a dimension near you. You know, that's what the post that the fucking police officers had. They had a picture of me and my gas mask, with all of my fucking ingredients behind me, saying "coming to a dimension near you soon." Holy shit. Understanding perfection of eternity creates distorted laughter. We, you reaching towards me, and you reaching towards me, we. All of that movement, this movement is the reward. This moment is the reward. We is all that effort, that motion, that thrashing. True, we. We is wormhole and frameworks. That is the middle of the pyramid. That is a Perion beam. That is what I'm working on right now. A Perion beam code daemon. I mean, that is literally what I'm talking about exactly right here. I'm talking about understanding framework determinism. I'm talking about framework determinism is code daemon. That's literally code daemon. And oh my god, EFOC. No, and and then the other thing was the other thing. If you people don't get it by now, you need to fucking just go and get the lobotomy. All of that movement and this movement is a reward. We is all that effort, that motion, that thrashing. Oh yeah, that and then that we is the twin poles. That is frameworks, and that is will to taste, which is the middle of the pyramid. Very weird. That's insane. Breathing being lifetime target versus reach out to eat everything. I've been working on this lately. This is what I was doing with Larry the Lizard. This is why this was, you know what's funny? My version of working on this in the story was just working on his anatomy because I had to understand exactly how he was breathing so that I could make my own breathing interesting to focus on by putting it in contrast to his breathing. And so that's why I put that in the story. They are nope. They are the same. Lifetime is running, and ego is to taste on breathing, which commands to eat everything. Need details on the kid named Finger framework. Does that come with a will to Walter? Metaphysical nature of me. Me is when we know what our nature is. I eated you. Ice pack, hot breathing tech, crazy combo. Weird. I bet that is a crazy combo. Okay. Metaphysical nature of me. Me is when we know what our nature is. I eated you. Oh, that is our nature. The nature is I eated you, which is God saying from my own head that he ate me. Ice pack, hot bath, breathing tech. You get the point. Crazy combo, great framework results. Like, hey, you're dying, better learn quick. We eat, not you and me. Indica sucks fat dick for this framework. I still have no clue what they do. Different, different than the one I was talking about on call. So, that's the end of that thread. Dude, tell me that wasn't one of the most magical things. That was banger central. Yeah, it was. It felt like a movie. Yeah, Jesus. Oh. That was such classic jock shit. Are you seeing how much I'm scrolling up on this one? Yeah, this is the longest one. This is the one I was talking about where I started trying to download this chat and then I filled up my computer's entire storage. Which is good though. Yeah, yeah. Which should be fascinating. I mean, this should be like good. I mean, honestly, I would kind of like to go through this with Shock. That would be super interesting. That's me, my graduation. Jesus. This is insane. I'm still scrolling. Oh my god. This is good though. I mean, even though this will take us all damn night to go through and we won't get done. Why am I posting so many blood pictures? Oh, I'm losing an insane amount of blood. That's why. There we go. Fuck. This is me right after the cop experience. Me using my newfound meditation ability to charge up my gauntlet. My face when he approaches. You know what they say? A picture says 1,000 words. And thanks, brother. You're too. It's well how the infinity has a knack for cute conduits. What a powerful story. You should send those in to the police to assert your dominance. Oh, Athenos. This is a great framework. AV no. This was. I want the lizard to talk about this. This goes along with the orbs. This is the story of a man who could make the decision, the man who did make the decision, and no man, because there is truly no man. The man who did make the decision is not really a man. He's also within another orb, within another orb, within another orb, within another orb, within another. Summoning step 3, maintaining step 2 into step 3. Never start at step 3. Step 3. The goal isn't to disintegrate the one who watches. Don't eat it. I eat it. So real. I have no fucking idea what I was talking about. Yeah, my definition of steps is so fucky. I need to figure out what the fuck is going on in my brain that makes me do that. I all the time call things that aren't steps, and it fucks me up. Want to elaborate on that one? You tripping? I will elaborate on all of it when I come inside. And no, just meditating on frameworks. Cool. The emphasis that I am the one who looked into the orb is not offset by the fact that I see myself inside. Elimination, not ladder set. Step 3, eat yourself. The mind is not to be destroyed, but separated and enjoyed. Is Athenos the 3 layers of the pyramid? It is! Okay, so a man who could make the decision
the first layer of the frameworks is the pure framework understanding, no religion. Okay, that is a man who could make the decision. That's purely in your own mind. That's a purely framework decision. The next one is the man who did make the decision. This is where you go to religious belief. This is where you believe that you are the man who made the decision, and so now you're having a metaphysical, religious understanding, which is helping you get there. That is the second layer of the pyramid, which is the understanding from a Sithidal's perspective, which is the metaphysical understanding that you are reality itself. And then finally, you have will to taste, which is the top of the pyramid, which is understanding that there is no man, there is no decision, there's only the orb, there's only the will to taste, there's only that thing expanding forever outward. Isn't that cool? It was damn. How come my memory powers just stopped tonight? I was in such a roll with that. I was saying that the Athenos framework is the three layers of the pyramid. So you have the exactly. Precisely. Yeah. And that literally is the three layers of the pyramid. And that is Athenos. So now that's cool. So now we're going to have Athenos within the first layer of the pyramid. So think about that, Trevor. We're literally going to have the lizard talking about the three layers of the pyramid within the first layer of the pyramid. That's how meta and fractal we're getting on this bitch. And then right here, I say elimination, not ladder set. You know what's funny? This is me literally telling myself not to call it steps. So elimination, not ladder set means it's not 1, 2, 3 in that order. It's elimination. You want to get to step 3, and then so steps 1 and 2 are just uh they're like you're trying to eliminate all 3 of them, and it's like to get if you're getting all 3 of them out of the way, then to be on the third one would be the best place to be, but you want to even get rid of, like, you want to be completely no man, and that's what elimination means. So it's like it's not like you want to go from 1 to 2 to 3. If you can, you want to start on 3 and then just eliminate it, because that means you already had 1 and 2 eliminated. You just want all of them to be gone. That's the goal. You want there to be nothing except God left. Step 3, eat yourself. Already went over that. The I is the I which arises out of am not. True. God, that's one of the coolest things I've ever said in my entire life. That's actually literally one of the best quotes humanity has ever produced. The I is this one should be uppercase. The I is the I which arises out of am not. That means that that is incredible. That means that the only time you can be sure that you are yourself is if you are not identifying with the thought that is thinking that it is yourself. You can only be truly yourself if you are not identifying with any of the things which call themselves yourself. That is the only true I. Step 3, Prime Eater. That's an awesome name for a framework. Oh my God. Prime Eater. Instead of Jesus, that is awesome. Eat it all. What you are is the eating. Eat the eating. To the eater still remains. Maintaining framework. Yeah, Prime Eater. That's sweet. That's what I'm working on right now, basically, with the top of the pyramid. The Prime Eater framework. Bro, go to sleep. Or not. You'll have to explain this sometime. I'm not even inside yet. I've been pulling 24-hour framework runs lately. Unstoppable Machine. This was pre-Adderall, too. Oh my God. Fun. Finding pure thought textures requires eating the eater until only the teeth remain. That's a cool way to visualize it. Literally like sucking yourself into a black hole and then just a pile of teeth being left. Um, you're talking about lucid dreams. Imagine how powerful we get if we were practicing frameworks in our dreams. I remember literally thinking maybe I'd get there one day, thinking that I could do like another 8 hours of framework meditation in my sleep. Weed apparently prevents lucid dreaming. Jesus. Let me know if you have success with it and what method you use.
I'm going to very roughly try and translate what I've been thinking about for the past 24 hours. I've had like a framework breakthrough. I'm pretty lit. But I must say, language, obviously, but specifically here, like more than ever, language is not going to apply to this particular experience. Not really going to be able to explain specifically what the issue was last few days. But the point is, the issue has been solved. So I'll start with the Athenos summoning. So I discovered this interesting method where it was essentially you ran through the steps of A, become a man who could make the decision. That was the A. And you had the, and that was become the man who made the decision. And then there was no, and that was become no man. Become the man who made the decision, who saw himself in the orb and realized that he was no man at all, and he was simply pure experience, right? Become a man is thinking, I could endure hell. I could look into infinity and say yes. Become the man is realizing that you are the man who looked into infinity, and this is just a piece of infinity that he saw in the orb. And then become no man is to realize that even the original dimension wasn't real, and all that's left is bare infinity that you're experiencing. And yeah, that was what I just got. That's the thing. And that was like a summoning method that I used to get there. But then my issue was that the big issue was basically I would try and run the framework, and then I would have this issue of like, well, there's like 3 steps. Like I can't condense 3 steps down to 1 second. Like I should understand how to make it a maintaining framework. I understood how to work it to make it happen, but I didn't understand how to make it stick around. And the obvious solution, which is it's not a ladder. You don't every time you don't climb from step 1 to step 3, it's a process of elimination. And which means instead you try to do step 3, step 3 doesn't work, you go to step 2, if step 2 doesn't work, you go to step 1, and then you work your way up from the process of elimination. But if you're capable of doing step 3, which is no man, which is the important part of no man is the eating of the self. So there's the eating of the world, which is like just the appreciation of the bare experience of reality. But then the eating of the self is the appreciation.
It's very funny. What did you see that?
Yo, Chuck, I bet you would love martial arts of some form. I just did jujitsu for the first time today, and that was very fun.
I thought that was you talking, and now I realize it's a voice message speaking.
Wrestling, and
what? You seen this?
We can't. Let me know if you guys can move to Georgia.
yeah, literally.
There's a phantom scrolling down. Are you seeing this? What is this shit? No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm holding it. I don't understand. It's got to be Voxer, which means I got to close the page. Which means I have to scroll all the way the fuck back up. Why? Ugh. For real. What is happening? Who would... What? Okay, I'm gonna have to close it. Except when it does that. I'm thankful for you, gay-ass motherfuckers. Like, hardcore. Okay, I'm just gonna... Okay, fuck it. That sucks. No, so that's actually exactly what I was talking about right there, which is the process of elimination. Is I don't have a apologize. I thought none of those saved for some reason. That was brutal. Okay. I don't have I do not have. Let me get it straight real quick. Hold on. Okay. I do not have a one like way to view it. I don't view all 9 steps at the same time. It's like there's the top of the pyramid, and that's where you want to be, and then there's like 5 steps leading up the bottom step of the pyramid, and then there's 3 steps leading up the next part of the pyramid, and then there's the final part of the pyramid, which is where you want to be, and then there's no steps on it, right? So it's like there are
5 steps to explain the bottom of the pyramid, and then there are 3 steps to explain the middle of the pyramid, and then there's 1 step to explain the top of the pyramid. And you want to always be at the top of the pyramid, but if you're not already at the top of the pyramid, then you can use whichever step you need below it to get to the top of the pyramid. You see what I mean? That's what the process of elimination is talking about. Where it's not like you climb the steps every time. It's like the steps are only there if you can't get there yourself. What? Is this the wrong? No, no. What's happening? All those messages got deleted. You can see, right? No. Why? Why? Trevor, what the fuck kind of question is that? Do you see one? I don't. Did you see me going right near it? I didn't. You can see it. I'm recording. I mean, no. What? Why? Thank God, man. I would have cried. I would have literally cried. Like, I would have literally had to go to, I would have said, I'll be back in a couple minutes. I'm gonna go take a shower. And then I would have like sat down on the floor of the shower and just wept. Yeah. Yeah. It's like at that point, it's like God's basically telling us, it's like the suffer's eternal. I don't want you to get out. You know what I mean? It's like Jesus. But do you see what I mean with the process of elimination thing? No, it's like no, it's like imagine how do I explain this? So you know how you can't it's like imagine I'm talking to a 4-year-old and then I say to that 4-year-old, you need to uh you need to tell me like I don't know math that well, so I don't know the perfect example, but it's like you need or I mean, I don't know. It's like telling a 4-year-old who's never played a video game before. You hand them a controller, you hand them Apex Legends, and you're like, I do a wall bounce. And then they're like, dude, I don't how do you move forward? What the fuck do you mean do a wall bounce? And it's like they're gonna need to learn like a lot of stuff just to get to that point. But it's like what you want them to do is wall bounce. And it's like that's what I mean with the process of elimination, where it's like, if they could just wall bounce, then they should just wall bounce. They shouldn't go look up a YouTube video of how to move forward and then how to shoot and then how to like double jump and then how to specifically hit the wall and then how to hit the wall at the right time to be able to put a second input and then how to put that second input to be able to hit the right like the right momentum so they can get the farthest wall bounce. You know what I mean? It's like there are lots of little nuances, but if they just knew all the nuances, then they wouldn't need to learn any of them. They could just do it. And it's like the same thing with the pyramid, where it's like you don't need all 9 steps of the pyramid if you can get to the top. The 9 steps of the pyramid are just there for the people who can't just fly to the top. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess imagine it like this. Imagine there are 9 steps to get to the top of the pyramid. If you can grow a pair of wings and fly there, then don't fucking walk up the stairs. The stairs are for the people who can't.
trying to scroll through slowly through it now, so that at the very least, if it deletes itself permanently, then I can just go through the recording and read it at the least. Thank God they're not gone, because it's like we're literally getting them finally permanently put into. You know what I mean? It's like it's literally this is the time that we're literally catalyzing them in amber forever for us to never lose them again. Yeah, I know. I know. At the very least, it would be nice to finally have proof that it's like, look, we're the unluckiest people in the universe. It always does. It never fails to self-detonate. Finally, though, it's not. I mean, finally, things seem to be good. I mean, fantastic, fantastic stuff. Yeah, no, that was just insane and unexplainable and absurd. I mean, there was no explanation for that. It was just ridiculous. That was nothing but just God literally hitting a fucking Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare on us. Okay, here we go. Do you still have these? Have you watched these anytime recently? Oh, it's your old YouTube videos. Uh-huh. Yeah, you sent them, and then my response was, "Who is that faggot?" Great example of what not to do on our channel. Thanks, Trevor. I remember one of them I really liked. It was like your version of the mad pattern. Yeah, it was like the jester or whatever. I can't remember it exactly, but I remember liking it. Yes, actually, we should, because this is what we need to do next. Is just go back through all of our videos. So might as well start here. Um. Oh, we're right on here. Okay, hold on. I got this. Trevor. Um. You want to take what time you gotta go to sleep tonight? You don't have school tomorrow, do you? Or do you? No, I mean school to do. Yeah. Uh, but I guess it can be done at any time, so it's not a huge deal if you go to sleep late. Um,
But I'm assuming you'll be getting tired lately. Like, I mean, soon, because if you do have to wake up for school during the week, right? I could kind of go all night, probably. I don't want to because tomorrow's supposed to be warm and I want to ride the bike tomorrow. So, I mean, I should go to sleep soon, but I mean, also we need to get this done. So, I mean, as long as possible, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, multifaceted. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, we're doing pretty good right now. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm at like 10 minutes or so right now because like we have been going for a while. I want to like clear my head just a little bit. Um, but then also that's typically where every call ends, so I don't want that to happen. Um, hmm. Yeah, but I do want to think during those. Um, I'd say we do that and then we come back for another hour or two. Pretty solid recordings though, huh? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I could do this for fucking days on end. Well, I'm gonna see what the weather looks like. I'm hoping. Oh no. Hmm. I know what to do. Tomorrow I could take my perkies again, which is tempting because I got a lot to work through in my head and I gotta work through it. It would be. I am probably gonna feel it. But the issue is I also kind of want to do sub one again in like 6 days. So well, it's kind of like you need to not do it for a week. So it's like I should. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure how it works is like it takes a week for it to leave your system. So yeah, so it's like I need 7 days. So it's like basically if I was gonna do sub one in like 6 days, 7 days, then I would need to just not do perkies. But it's like it's like I need the perkies to get back into a state where I feel good doing sub one and sub one is worth it. You know what I mean? But it's also like, but then I can't do sub one for a week after I do perkies. So then I have to go on perkies for multiple days. Well, more like yeah, yeah, if I do it, then I have to instantly turn the countdown into 2 weeks out instead of 1 week out at the minimum. I think I should just go for the perkies, I think, because tomorrow's gonna be, like, probably the last one of the last warm no, I don't know, man, it's actually Friday. Okay, well, maybe I will do that. Yeah, I probably will do that. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, we'll plan for 2 or 3 weeks out. Okay, 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 okay. Cool. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna go see if I can find something to fucking eat, even though I know I fucking can't. Dumb bitch, Enterprise groceries. That's fine. Um, yeah. Just text me if you. I mean, if it goes longer, we just won't call again. But yeah, 15-20 is fine. Yeah, just text me whenever you think, or if you think you'll be back, or if it gets extended.